everyone!
We are María José Contreras
and Sofía Riquelme. And in the next video, we are going to analyze two types of text, their functions and their structures. But first of all, what is a text?
A text is a sequence of sentences that have a certain structure in order to comply with the proper rules of cohesion and coherence.
So now, let's get started. The first text that we are going to analyze corresponds to a narrative text, in this case, a book. This Winter by Alice Oseman. The function of and characteristics of a narrative text is to tell a non-fictional or fictional story in order to entertain the reader with a sequence of events that unchained in different situations through time. In this case, the book is a non-fictional world which is narrated by the protagonist in first person, Tori Spring. The scaffolding of the narrative text corresponds in the orientation, which is focused on who is in the story, when, where it is happening, and what is going on. The orientation of this text is focused on the Spring family, specifically on the siblings, Tori, Charlie, and Oliver. It is winter in Britain and it's the Christmas morning, and for the family, it is not a period in which problems disappear. Complication. Something that will trigger or begin a chain of events that will affect one or more characters. In this case, the complication is Charlie's eating disorder, which is disturbing the family's affairs and his sister's stability. The sequence of events in which how the character reacts to the complications that are unfold according to how the story is developed. Charlie went to the hospital because of his eating disorder, and now he's back for Christmas. However, everything has felt different since his return. Resolution, which is how the problem is solved, in this case, is that every member of the Spring family finds comfort in different people or things. Charlie finds it in his boyfriend Nick and his sister Tori. Grammatical features. In this case, the text counts with specific characters, which are Mom, Dad, Oliver, Victoria, and Charlie. On the other hand, it has descriptive adjectives. He's got purple circles under his eyes. The text also includes the use of adverbials to connect events, which he does at least once a day. The use of dynamic verbs, such as slamming, snuggling, trampling, sticking, among others.
Regarding the recurrence rules used in this text, we found the following examples. Pronominalization, that is an anaphoric procedure. This feature consists on the use of pronouns to refer to a unit that was introduced earlier. For example, Mom and Dad said we can't wake them up until at least 7:30. Here, the units Mom and Dad were replaced by the pronoun them. Then, there is an elision, which is the omission of the subject in compound predicates. I fall back into bed and put the radio on. Then we have co-reference, which is the use of two linguistic expressions to refer to an element previously mentioned. In this example, the units Charlie and Oliver are replaced later by the expression young brothers. In addition, by the context, the reader can infer that the author is referring to them as siblings. And the use of repetition is also present in this text. For instance, the repetition of the unit I, which is used to emphasize the first-person narrator in this story.
Progression pattern. The most common pattern of this narrative text corresponds to a zigzag thematic progression, for the reason that the first clause is the theme of the second sentence. For example, in this sentence, the rhyme, which is put the radio on, is derived into the theme of the second clause, playing a quiet hymn for once. The same action is repeated between the other clauses of the text.
Connections, exclamation and interrogative marks. Because it is a narrative text, interrogative and exclamation marks are commonly used when a dialogue is presented to add emphasis to a certain emotions, feelings, or expression from the character. Also, they use the coordinator but to show contrast between clauses. For example, he looks tired, But he's smiling. The second text is an article from The Guardian called "All Hail the Smart Code Revival. The puffer has finally puffed its last." Therefore, this text is expository, since it is an article from The Guardian. In addition, its function is to characterize a phenomenon and its parts. Also, the purpose of this text is to inform the reader about a topic. In this case, this article is about the puffer code, why it is finally running out of fashion, and some historical facts. Consequently, the scaffolding consists on: first, a general opening statement in the first paragraph, which explains to the audience what the text is about. In this case, the puffer code is finally running out of puff, which makes reference to the fact that this cloth is no longer fashionable. Moreover, this text is separated through different paragraphs that give more details about the subject. Besides, most of them contain a topic sentence and technical language related to the topic. For example, in the paragraph number 7, we can find the following topic sentence: "The decline of the puffer is surprisingly being used in fashion." This paragraph is about how the puffer code has been used during the past years, being a sensation in fashion. And related to the technical language, we can find the following examples: off-shoulder, couturier, satin quilted jacket, streetwear, etc. Finally, this text contains a concluding paragraph, which summarizes the topic and indicates the end of the text. Now, regarding grammatical features, this text contains the use of passive voice. And we use passive voice to point out the object that receives the effect of an action. In this case, to emphasize the puffer codes that are the main topic in this text. For instance, most puffers, however, are filled with feathers and down. Moreover, the use of nominal detail groups are also typically used in expository text. For instance, the following complex sentence with a relative clause: John Lewis, who caused uproar by calling time on the floral middle-length dress in February, is once again leading the charge. This relative clause is used to give extra information about the antecedent, which is John Lewis, and it's between commas because the information is not essential to understand the meaning of the sentence.
Recurrence rules were founded from the expository text. Starting with the coreference, which is the use of two linguistic expressions to refer to an element mentioned before. In this case, the word puffer coat was referred to kilted nylon outerwear. Next, we have the repetition of a word or expression throughout the text. In this case, the word puffer was repeated several times. Following with anaphoric procedure. This is the mechanism to keep reference, avoiding the repetition of them. In the pronominalization, the noun puffers were referred next as they. And finally, the lexical substitution, which is the substitution of one element for another. In the text, the word showcase was changed to a synonym, catwalk. On the other hand, the most frequent progression pattern in this text is the constant thematic progression, because, as we said before, expository texts are divided in different paragraphs, where each one describes a subtheme related to the topic. In other words, in most paragraphs, the theme of the first clause is always the same, while the rhymes provide new information.
For example, in the first paragraph, the first theme is the puffer code, and the rhyme is that this code is finally running out of puff. Then, in the second sentence, the theme is the same. Consequently, the second rhyme is about that this code is said to be challenged by the return of the smart code.
Finally, regarding connections, this text uses the subordinator while to indicate time.
And that was everything in our video. We hope that you enjoyed learning about texts, their structures, functions, and rules.
See you next time, and thanks for watching!